It says we are live, so we will see here shortly if it kicks off. We decided to go ahead and kick it off a couple of minutes early. So you will have to let us know, KS, because we had that long delay last time.
Well, I see an advertisement. That's a good sign.
Well, I guess, yeah, and it just kicked on. So, all right. Well, how are you doing this evening, sir?
Oh, not too bad. How are you?
Man, I'm living the dream as long as you don't wake me up. So looks like we got a bunch of people out there. I was trying to go through and catch names, but we'll start doing it here. We've got Guy Comment. We've got Dennis B, Music Lover, Dan. Man, they're going now. Pistol Pete, Nate Wolf, Romans, E.L. Robbins. I said your name twice. Ranger 10. And Ranger 10 was the first comment, so he's the winner this evening. Bald and Curious. Hey, we got KS Gun Guy on here too. Let's see here. I know C. Kim was here somewhere. Pistol Pete. Hopefully I don't miss anybody. And if I do, I'm sorry. But we'll catch it up as we keep going. But anything new and exciting going on with you, sir?
I'm in the middle of a new build. This is not a Polymer 80 build. This is actually on an OEM frame, a Gen 419 frame. Got shocker, another G19. I just like them. I for whatever reason, I think they're endlessly fascinating and all the different things you can do. So doing some killer innovations stuff with this, including slide, one of their kind of cool slides and everything. So I'm really excited about that. I tested out, and you and I spoke about this a few days ago. Tested out Killer Innovations comp that they have. Really cool comp that kind of screws in. You don't have to Loctite it down and all of that. And had some fun with that on a Glock 45. And I absolutely loved it. That was probably the most significant result I've had with things like compensators, ported barrels, things like that. The difference between non-comped and comped was tremendous. It was huge. And I had it on the less severe comping setting, whatever that means. You could even comp it more. But myself and I think 3 or 4 other guys tried it out. They were all just blown away. So Killer Innovations, they're doing some pretty cool stuff. Pretty impressed with that. So maybe some recommendations for people to scope them out, see if it's something they're interested in. I obviously am not doing any work with them, for them, or anything like that. This is personal discovery. But I get really excited when there's some product that actually I truly witness and see and experience the result firsthand, and it's quite significant. So anyway, I just thought that was kind of cool. So that's what's going on with me.
Cool. Yeah, I've looked at their stuff, and it looks awesome, and I do like the way that you can attach the comp to their barrel, and you don't have to Loctite it, don't have to do any crazy stuff. You know, and I've never shot one, but I'm a big comp believer. You know, a lot of people are like, why do you have comps on a 9mm? Does make it more accurate for me. And I just think they're fun, and, you know, they kind of look cool, but, I just say, you know, to each their own, but they do make some really cool looking stuff. So that's, neat that you're trying it out. We did also have, some more people, join real quick. Brian, CZ Shadow 2, Pistol, or is it Pistol Peak, Keenan. And I think that was it. But I wanted to, you know, give them a shout out too. Today I actually went and shot at Texas Gun Experience with a subscriber of mine, and I don't know if he wants me to say his name, so I won't, but I'll just call him JM. How about that? And, you know, shot his 300 blackout, talked, did some stuff like that. And he's a member up at Texas Gun Experience, but he went into the VIP area with me, and we had a good time and chatted for a while, shot, and then came out and chatted for a while, but it was a really good time. Shot the 509, I shot the Glock 19X, and I shot the Shadow 2, and, you know, just probably shot about 100 and something rounds, but I had a good time. And, you know, then of course I went around Texas Gun Experience, and they've got a ton of self-defense ammo in, but they've got quite a bit of stuff, and their inventory is actually coming back pretty quickly. So, you know, everything they had on order, you know, they sold a ton, but they're getting a lot more stuff in. So not that they really ran out, but they did get low on a lot of stuff. So, you know, I was pretty glad that they did that. But, and I'm eyeballing something else. Been eyeballing it for a while, but really, you know, wanting it. But of course, I'm not working right now, so that can come a little later. But I've got some plans for something, and it's something out of the ordinary. So it's something that's not thought of. But I did have a couple of questions, and these are some stumpers. Okay. Or first, let's talk about this. Have you seen the new Sig P320 Alpha steel frame?
I have.
What do you think about it? Now, I've been asked this, and of course, it's already been brought up on the chat and the discussion, but what do you think about it?
Well, full transparency, I had not heard about it until about 20 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago. Okay. Thanks, Big Johnson. But I'm so glad you said something. I mean, it looks pretty cool. The limited amount that I've spent kind of gazing at it and reading about it, studying it, that sort of thing. And I imagine there's probably not a lot of info about it just yet. But listen, I am a huge fan of anybody, even if they're taking current existing models. I don't care if it's Glock, let's say, and doing some different stuff with it, whether it's rotating barrels or alloy or steel frames or various things like that. I mean, mixing it up a little bit, because I think it inspires yet another audience potentially to get into it. Somebody who maybe has never considered 320 might be looking at something like the Alpha or the Legion, perhaps, because it does have more weight to it. It's a different shooting characteristic than just a standard polymer gun. So I'm all for it, man. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good offering. I think it's good on SIG to come out with something else like that. I think it'll be heavier than the tungsten, and it looks like it's a little more grippy. And if I understand, I think you can change back straps, maybe even side panels. And it does have the grip plugs that you can put in, so different weighted plugs. And I'm sure someone will come out with an aftermarket plug, which will probably be tungsten, and we know tungsten weighs more than steel. So they'll probably, aftermarket guys will have support there. I think it's a good offering. Me personally, I think it's, I don't know why they put a thumb safety on a striker fire pistol, but that's just me. I think that's kind of dumb. In my opinion, if you like safeties, that's cool. If it was a double action, single action, or single action only, I could definitely understand a safety for the people who need it. I don't think there's a way to take it off, but then again, I guess you can use it as a thumb ledge. So if you look at the advantage there, it doesn't look big enough to be like a true thumb ledge, but maybe you can make it work. I don't think it's going to be doing anything drastically crazy, like maybe against a Shadow 2 that you might have milled or, something else, but I think it's a good offering. I definitely think it'll be better than, grip wise, better than the Walther, just for grip size, for some big handed people. So, good on them for doing it. I don't know when it's going to be out. I don't officially know. I haven't heard a release date or anything like that, so I don't know. But,
right.
I think it's going to be a cool offering, and I think a lot of people will buy it. So, what's up, G-Man?
Well, the SIG fans will for sure. And Arrange Randy is saying the 320 X5 Alpha all metal competition gun is going the way of many with adding weight. 40+ ounce handguns seem to be the norm on competition guns. I totally agree. I agree, and frankly, I think it makes sense because there's less recoil, so there's going to be less fatigue on you, a little bit flatter shooting, a little bit easier to control, especially if you're controlling power factor in it. I think it's a good marriage between the two. Yeah.
I mean, anytime you can get more weight on something like that and, keep the muzzle down, I think that's going to be a good option. So, Range Randy's in, Will and Well Armed, G-Man, Mr. Medina, and I think I saw parts by Teddy earlier. I think I might have missed him, but I appreciate y'all being on. And yes, I do think the Dan Wesson DWX is a casualty of COVID. However, I think it was moved back anyway. So I don't think it was necessarily, hopefully that, I'm figuring probably fourth quarter, if not even this year. It might not. Who knows?
Yeah. They were having issues with it long before any of this stuff happened that we're dealing with right now. Yeah.
Sam has a good question. Since we've got this, are the Sig P320 triggers better or worse after upgrade? I've heard both. What's your opinion on that?
100% worse, without question. The first P320 that I got, and it's a really old video on the channel. In fact, it's one of the first probably 15 videos on the channel. It was a compact FDE model. I'll tell you what, I really liked that gun a lot. That was certainly pre-upgrade before any of all that stuff happened. And every firearm that I've had that I either sent into them or have purchased afterwards, they've had okay triggers, but they have not been anywhere near as good. They're a little bit, and I don't mean to pick on Sig fans at all, because I'm a Sig fan. I like Sig Sauer, and I've got several P320s, but I think their triggers, to me, are a little bit lifeless. It's just kind of it's just a thud with nothing there. It's not very crisp or anything like that. Sometimes the weight is good. I mean, I've got a P320, the X Compact with the Romeo on it and everything. And it's a good trigger. It's fine. It does the job, but it doesn't inspire me so much. I know we talk about being trigger snobs and that sort of thing. I probably am, but no, I say pre-recall is the better trigger.
Yeah, I would totally second that also. I've had the before the recall, and I really enjoyed that trigger quite a bit. And that was even made better with the Apex. However, with the newer triggers, when you put the Apex, they are better because it takes up a lot of the slack or the travel and makes the reset a little bit better. But one thing that has always bugged me, and I even notice it more when I haven't shot a Sig in a while, and then I pick it up and fire it or dry fire it. One thing that bugs me about the Sig trigger on all Sigs, I don't care what it is, when you pull the trigger and you get that doing, that little doing feel, that drives me crazy. I absolutely despise that. I would rather have a firm click, or even if it was a little heavier, but it just had that click. I just don't like that bang where in some of the slides you can even watch them, they'll wiggle. And I'm like, okay, Sig, can you not take that out of a trigger? I mean, come on. And I understand how it works and everything, but other manufacturers don't have the doing. Sig does, and I don't understand why. So that's just my 2 cents. This is a good question too. Art is asking, do you load the mags, and of course on your AR, do you load the mags to 30 or 29, and then for your pistols, 17 or 16? Or if it takes more, do you load it to full capacity?
Right. Yeah. Do you download it a round or two? So that actually is an interesting question. In carry firearms, no, I do not. I take advantage of whatever capacity they have, whether it's single stack, double stack, whatever it is. So no. Now, I have a few magazines strategically placed around that are just live there permanently and don't have any action whatsoever. Otherwise, I actually do downgrade those or download them one round. There is no scientific reason. It's not really necessary to do if you understand spring characteristics. When you fully compress a spring, it's just fully compressed. It's not being more or less stressed than it is compressed or not compressed. For me, it's a mental thing. Just a tiny bit less stress on the overall magazine itself. Most of them can handle it without issue, like Glock magazines, things like that. But when I think about something like a CZ Scorpion Gen 1 mag or something, those have been known to break out of pressure, and that's just that fully loaded pressure. So, downloading those a round or two, probably going to preserve their life a little bit better. So is it necessary to do? Is it recommended to do? Not necessarily, no, but on some, I actually do that.
Yeah. I actually load them all the way. Now, here's the thing. On some AR, like PMags and stuff like that, what you'll get is with a closed bolt. If you've got 30 rounds in it, you'll have to slam it in there. And of course, make sure it latches. Some people just push it in there and then they'll go to shoot it and it falls out. So I definitely, believe in having a firm slam in there, not just a press. However, there's some, ARs and stuff, and that's why, you should test all your bolts and everything and see what you got. There's some that if you feed it, or if you put it in there and then, with an open bolt, and then you chamber that round, then you can top it off and slam it back in there. But there's some that can be a little finicky, but I top them all off. Pistols, I top them all off because I'll load around. I don't carry a pistol without one in the chamber because otherwise it's a paperweight. So I top it off, after I've loaded my round, and then into the chamber, and then go from there. But, do whatever you feel comfortable with. I know if you don't have the hand strength to really slam a mag, then yes, you would probably recommend to download one. if you feel more comfortable with that, and if it's easier for you to press it in there. So it's just really what you prefer. There's not a, I don't think there's a wrong or a right answer. It's just you're going to get one less round if you choose to do that. So either way.
Right.
Let's see here. This is actually a question. I think CCAM originally asked it, but we can answer this also. Do you like drum magazines?
I'll be honest with you. I've never tried one before.
Okay.
I just never had an occasion to need to.
Okay. Yeah, I have the D60 for the AR-15. I don't have the the D70 or whatever for the 308. I want to get one, but I've ran this thing and I've got a review coming on it, but I've been running this one for quite a while now. And I like them. I mean, they're cool. The thing about it though, when it's completely loaded and it's, you've got all 60 in there, it is kind of bulky. It's kind of big and round if you're going to store it in a bag. And I honestly think if you took 2 mags and even stuck them together, to where you've got this spacer between them, or, hell, you could even cheap out and break a pencil in half and stick a pencil there and tape them together if you want to offset them. They take up a lot less space, but I think the D60 is cool, especially if you just don't have time to release that mag and load another mag. You've got 60 versus 30 or even 40. So, but so far this one's worked fine. I haven't had any problems with it. So, whatever floats your boat.
Right.
So, and I've got a question for you. And it's kind of a crazy one. And this is for, of course, the chat room also. If you had to choose, okay, only one, would you choose a Sig, a Glock, or an M&P?
I mean, we're talking handguns,
handgun. Yeah.
And like you've said a brand, but you haven't said a model. So,
Yes.
I mean, you just say I would go Glock, and that simply is just because of things we've talked about many times. I mean, availability of parts and inexpensive nature of parts and things like that. I just would.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got, people saying M&P, Sig, M&P, Glock. For myself, and, I like M&P. I actually like them a lot. Sig, I can take them or leave them. Glock, y'all know how I feel about Glock. But out of that, I would take a Glock out of those 3 choices. And the only reason is, and it would have to be like a Glock 19X or something with a big grip. Because of compatibility with other things like we've talked about before. And I'm not saying it's an SHTF. I'm just saying, which one would you take? But, because even a stock Glock, I can shoot a stock Glock. I can shoot a stock M&P. I would prefer the M&P, as far as the trigger, but I would take a Glock. So that's just me. And of course, if I could throw a CZ in there, I'd take a CZ, but I just wanted to throw that up there. Now, here's even a tougher one. Okay. And I might get some hate on this one because of what I'm going to say. But if you have to choose one for self-defense, okay, only one, would it be a 45 ACP, a 380, a 22 Magnum, or a 44 Magnum?
45 ACP.
Yeah, that would be my choice all day long too. And of course, I've shot 44 Magnum, I've shot 22 Magnum 380. But with the 45, I think if you had to get shots off, I think it would be less recoil because it's more of a push. But 44 Magnum, and I mean, I've shot them in revolvers. I think, is it Cabot Guns that makes a 44 semi-auto, 1911? I think they make one, but I would choose, 45 all day for all of the, naturally 9mm, but if I had it offered. But I was just, wanted to throw that out there. I thought that would be pretty fun. Yeah, and a lot of people are choosing 45 with a 44 in second place. 2 World Wars, yeah. I just thought that'd be kind of fun to get a lot of. Kathleen's choosing a 25 ACP.
Nice. And Romans is shooting the 22 LR. So Romans, plead your case. I want to know. I want to know your reasoning behind the 22. Not saying it's the worst round ever, not at all. But I'm just curious about that.
Well, and he's, in a way, if you think about it this way, with no recoil, shooting a 22, I mean, you could definitely get some shots in the face pretty quick, and that'd be 10 rounds. And if you've got a larger magazine, it'd be more. But you can shoot those damn things pretty accurately. So you could take down somebody pretty fast and shoot them right in the eyeball if you had to. So they would work. Now, as far as other questions, yeah, and that's what he's saying. Shot placement is key. So
that's very true.
I definitely agree with this. Yeah, and also, the 22. Now, if you notice, I said 22 Magnum. So 22 Magnum's not found everywhere like 22 LR is. I did that for a reason. But yeah, the 22. I mean, it's all about shot placement. Matter of fact, I've got a video coming up. It's pretty interesting, but I've already shot it and everything, so I think it'll be pretty cool. But yeah, and if you go with the right 22, you can get a lot of capacity in like some of those Kel-Tecs and stuff like that, as long as they're reliable. Not shooting a Glock 44. No, I'm joking. But yeah, this is pretty funny. Big J, you love the idea of shooting someone in the face.
Yikes.
What's the quickest way to turn an off switch off? I mean, I'm just,
True.
It's all about shot placement, and I don't want to do that, but I'm saying if I had to do that, and I could, yes. And Steve-O's talking about carrying his Ruger, on occasion. Well, here it went. Where'd it go? Anyway, he was talking about carrying his Ruger on occasion, and there it is, right there. Yeah, and I mean, like I said, they're a lot of those are reliable. The only thing as far as 22 is if you get a bad primer strike or it has a bad primer, 22 can be kind of finicky. But if you're running some really good quality, then you could get away with it. Here's a good question. All right, if you had $1,000 to buy one handgun, what would it be?
$1,000. I mean, if it all has to go to the handgun, I don't know. Are we able to find sales?
Yeah, you can find sales.
If we're able to find sales, if I was able to find it, I mean, I would do something like a Shadow 2. But that typically hovers a little over the $1,000 mark. So, I'd find something that's, fun and enjoyable, usable, that hovers right up to that. And it could be something like the Archon or something like that. But I don't know. $1,000 for a handgun in that $1,000 to $1,000 mark. There are a lot of options. I mean, a lot of options, and it comes down to application and what you're trying to accomplish with it. So if it's just fun, that takes me down a totally separate road than if it's for self-defense, home defense, things like that. So that's a tough question.
Now, I don't know if he's saying this. If he's saying $1,000, I would definitely look at a Shadow 2. However, if he's saying he only has $1,000 and doesn't have any other guns, if that could be a case, then I would throw out there, maybe like a Glock 19 or a CZ P10C, and then maybe like a 22 also, if he doesn't have any other guns, but or maybe even like a shotgun too, a reliable shotgun and a pistol. And then, of course, you'd want some mags and some ammo, but I would definitely go Shadow 2. And I've seen them for, occasionally for or before this virus thing, I would see them for like $950 every once in a while on a blue moon. And I did see one used one, and it was really clean, and it was $940 at a store. So I was pretty impressed they had that. But, I guess to each their own, whatever you would work or would work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he has 33 handguns. Okay, that's what he's saying. So yeah, he's got something. Yeah, and then I would. Well, here we go. This is a question for KS. Is the Hudson H9 worth buying?
It's funny. And Art, to go along with your question, Harry was asking both of us if you could design your own gun from the ground up, what features would it have? Needs to be different from current options. And it's funny, my mind goes back to the Hudson. And again, going along with Art, what you're asking, is the Hudson H9 itself worth buying? To me, in my opinion, no, absolutely not. I think you're taking a significant risk if you do that because the company's gone. So, if somebody just gave you one, sure, you can go have some fun with it. But if you're investing money in it, be careful, just there's no support, right? However, the idea behind it, I think, was brilliant. It's the whole reason I wanted to get into it in the first place. I mean, that is a gun that I was probably more excited to get than most other firearms I've ever had. And I was so excited for that firearm first because I'm a 1911. My background is 1911, and I still love 1911s, and I love 9mm 1911s a lot. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that being said, but it's true. Sacrilegious, right? I still love a good 45, but I really enjoy 9mm because it's a very different experience. And so marrying the striker fired world with that heavy 1911 type of thing, a double stack, I mean, I just thought it was a great idea. It was a very cool looking gun, all of that. But the execution was absolutely miserable, and it's no wonder they're shut down. I'm not trying to be mean or anything like that, but it's just true. I mean, that's the business side of me. I don't think they did it right. Had they done it right, I think I'd still have mine. I know that, but I think it really would spark a different path for some manufacturers to go down. And so if I could do my own version of that, I would. And Art, to answer your question, not in my opinion. No, it's not. So there you go.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's a cool looking pistol, and I've dry fired it and all that stuff. When they first came out, I was like, we'll let this play out a little bit. And then of course you had that issue with yours and stuff. So I was like, definitely no. I think it's a cool look, and it's a cool, thing that they tried. I don't think anybody will buy it, the design, and try to recreate it. I think it's pretty much done. I would not invest in it. I had an opportunity to pick up one really inexpensively, and it was brand new, and I passed. So just because, the support, the mags, the things like that, nobody's going to continue to make mags for something that's not out there. So it's just not anything for me. But and also I think they really got the cart before the horse. They had problems and issues with guns they already had out there, and then they were trying to go on to threaded barrels and optic ready and all this other stuff. They were just trying to be way ahead of what they were dealing with, or what they already had issues with. So, and yeah, if they, anybody owns one and they do go down, I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know how you're going to get anything unless you have some guy that's like, I'll manufacture the broken part for you, and it's going to cost $9,000.
Right.
Hey, what's up, Master Chew? Appreciate you being on. Yeah, I'd pass on that. Like I said, if there was something that somebody's like, man, you can get it for like $150 or something crazy, you might take that gamble. So.
Yeah, and if that were the case, if that was honestly true, if I went to a gun show and a guy had a couple brand new ones in boxes for a couple $100 a piece, I'd actually buy both of them. I had one that was for fun and one that was spare parts, and that would be it. And I would still have spent less than one new one back in the day. And so in that logic, and somebody else was saying, and I can't remember who was saying it, but I'm trying to find that comment because I hate not being able to call somebody out. But they were saying, I'm thinking about buying another one just for spare parts. And I could totally see that logic. It's unfortunate that you have to do that, but if you can find one super cheap, that might not be a bad idea.
Exactly. No, that's right. Fina has a good question. What are you going to look for when when the trade-in of the firearm starts showing up at your local gun store? So basically, when you're looking at a used firearm, what do you look for? Or what are some things you check or ask or whatever?
That's a good question. So I look for two different things. First, you guys know I'm real into builds and parts and that sort of thing. And I'm kind of a Glock junkie. I always have extra spare stuff lying around. So if I can find them super, super cheap, I'd buy some more Glocks just so I could be ready for builds if I want to. That's just a thing. That's just one of the things I enjoy doing. Fun hobby, but also rare and weird guns. So if I could stumble upon like PX4 Storms, and that's not really that weird, but going down that type of path, I would totally do that if I could find the right deals on them. Those are the types of guns I'd like to go back and revisit, but at a much lower cost.
Yeah. And it's kind of the same thing with me. I'm looking for kind of unique stuff. It's like, either that or like, even like a 1911, if somebody bought a 1911 and it was super clean, that might be something if that's something I'm interested in, or a double stack or something like that. But, one thing as far as, with traded in guns, one thing I always do, and I'll tell the store this or whomever, I'm like, I want to take it apart, and like if it's a Glock, it's super simple. Even if it's a 1911, I will even say, hey, you can take it apart, and I know how to take them apart, but I'll say you can take it apart, but I've got to inspect everything in there, because I want to see if like the barrel's been shot out, or if somebody had a squib and they beat it out with a sledgehammer and some kind of a non-dowel rod. I want to look through the barrel and do some things like that. Check the feed ramp. There's just some basic stuff that I do. So if they will not allow me to take apart the gun, or they will not take apart the gun for me to look at, I won't buy it. I'll walk away and just tell them, look, you don't want to work with me, I don't want to work with you. So I just won't buy one if I can't really, really look inside. Now, if you take it out of the package and it's literally got the packing grease still on it, because somebody just bought it and never shot it, that could be a different thing. However, I would still want to take it apart just for my own, my own purchase.
Sure, sure. And speaking of taking it apart, Rabbi was saying, I know, Rabbi, you're having a conversation with a couple of other people. I haven't been able to track it all, but you're saying, I won't buy a gun from Academy, can't feel the trigger break or tear it down. That's the same with some other places, Bass Pro Shop, Cabela's, places like that. It's absolutely no-go to mess around with the triggers. I was able to talk Cabela's into taking one of those locks off, but it was the weirdest situation. This is when I did the APX carry video, because I really wanted to try that trigger before I just bought the gun. Well, I was dumb and ended up buying the gun anyway, but this is so weird. They took me in the back room. That was a little uncomfortable to begin with. This is it's the office behind the library. I don't know if every Cabela's is situated the same, but in there, it's one of those round catching sort of drums, if you will.
Yeah.
So if a round goes off, it catches the drum. So they first, took the magazine out, locked the slide open, and then they took the lock off. And then they had me pointed at, and this was like in this tiny little bit of the wall right here. And like 4 guys were watching me. It was the weirdest thing ever. I'm like, guys, first, you're holding the magazine. You've checked that it's unloaded. Clearly, I'm not grabbing any ammo. Let me just dry fire the thing. Nope, can't do that. So I will not buy firearms again from places like that. If you can't let me try the trigger out and just keep an eye on me, make sure I'm not grabbing a magazine, forget it, I'm out.
Yeah, same with me. I've been through that same crap. We can't remove it, and they tried to tell me it was not their policy, but it was the law. The guy said, it's the law that we can't take these off. And I was like, you're full of horse shit. And I just turned around. I'm like, I'm out of here. So yeah, I don't need somebody to start making up, magical laws all of a sudden so I can't check out a trigger. But, especially if it's a brand new gun or a new make that, maybe hasn't been out for a long time, people want to check it out before they buy it. That's why some people or some, people have a bad taste in their mouth after buying a gun. They're like, man, this trigger sucks because I didn't get to try it. So I just think if people are in the gun business, they need to be somewhat, appease people and not just be total asses. At least they took you in a back room, but I think that's overkill personally, but
it's pretty weird.
Yeah. Let's see here. Rodima is asking, finally picked up a Glock 45 Gen 5 MOS. I do believe this might be the best striker fired polymer gun on the market. He loves it. What do you think about that?
Well, they're good guns. I've got a 19X and a 45, both of which are very similar. They're both built on the Gen 5 platform, so the triggers are similar, that sort of thing. So I like them. That's what I did that Killer Innovations comp on, at least for now, just to run with it. Are they the best ever? That obviously is up to the individual shooter. Everybody's got their own perception as to what the best is in their hands. But give me a Glock, I'm pretty happy. Sometimes the triggers are a little crappy, although Gen 5s are definitely better, no doubt about that. But either way, even picking up this used Gen 4 today, and I've had my share of Gen 4 Glock 19s. I'm not sure how many, but even that, picked it up. Well, it's Gen 4 Glock, nothing special here, but I was pleasantly happy with it,
Yeah, I think the Glock 45 is good. I prefer the 19X just for the little tab at the bottom, like I've spoke about before, but I think they're fine guns. It wouldn't be my go-to gun personally, but I think that, for the MOS and everything that you're getting, and the little flared, magwell and stuff that it offers, and the, front slide cuts, I think for a Glock, that's probably one of the best ones out there. If you could find a 19X, you'd still need to do stuff to it, where the 45 MOS already has it. So, if that's something you're looking for, I think it's a great option.
Yeah. Real quick, if you don't mind,
Yep.
Texas Teacher has a question. I don't know if you were getting ready to jump on that, but I think it's a really good question. Saying, is it a good time to try to trade in used guns that stores might be selling out? So you've got a different question on there.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to find it. Man, he must have said it.
Yeah, it's relatively new. But anyway, so is it a good time to try to trade in used guns since stores might be selling out? So what do you think of that?
Well, I have talked to a few gun stores to ask them that exact question, because I thought, hey, maybe I've got some stuff, that I'm not married to, and thought, here's the deal. Gun stores have to make money. We know that. They're not going to pay, even this virus situation. I'd probably say, the majority of them, if they have a lot of inventory, they're not going to give you what you're hoping for those guns. They're probably going to stay with even the old pricing. So if it's something you want to get rid of to get something else, yeah, do it. But if you're looking at it as a profit situation to where you're just going to kill it and make all kinds of money, you're not going to, unless it's a gun store that really has zero inventory and they're just trying to keep people coming in the door. So if you want to make money, yes, now is the time to sell to individuals, or even go through a gun, a gun store to where they're just doing the paperwork for you and have that other person pay the paperwork fee. The 25 or 40 bucks, whatever it is, if you work that into your deal. But selling to individuals is the time to do it now, not necessarily a gun store, unless they're hurting for inventory. That would be my answer.
All right. Well, and it's funny, Romans, and this is going to go along with both here a little bit. Romans is saying, if I sell it on arms list, I always break even at a minimum. So I used to do that quite a bit as well. I would do the person to person because it's legal in Kansas. Kansas makes it pretty easy to do that. But I have changed my philosophy on that a little bit based on a couple of experiences. Nothing tragic or weird or dramatic or whatever, but just personally, I made a shift. Now, Texas had talked about trading in. I'm not a proponent of trading in guns ever. And the reason is you lose the most money when you trade in. Gun stores are typically, they're going to look somewhere in the 40 to 50% of the value. And that's of the aftermarket used value of the firearm. So, if you buy $1,000 firearm and then used, they typically sell for $900, they're going to give you $450 for it. So you're losing a lot. The next option, if you're not comfortable with doing a person-to-person sale, which I totally understand, again, I no longer do it, do consignment. You're still going to lose some. The store's going to take some off the top, but they are going to take less. And then it becomes up to supply and demand. So although things have tapered off from 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, things are still moving, and they're moving relatively well. You can't get top dollar like you could 4 weeks ago, but you can get good dollar for firearms. And so, if you bought a Glock however long ago, and I just use that as an example just for the heck of it, but let's say it was a $600 Gen 5 or something like that. I know you can get them less than that, but just ballpark with me. Right now, you can sell them for $550 to $575. And so you might lose between 10 and 18%. You're still doing better than you were trading them in. And the store does all the paperwork. So you have zero stress whatsoever. There's no paperwork trail that you have to ever be concerned about. So that might be a nice little safety blanket or comfort blanket for people as well. But Texas, I would say don't trade them in unless you just really are okay with whatever losses you might take and you just want to make the next transaction right then and there. So that's my advice.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. And what I do, like if I sell to an individual, I will tell them, hey, do you have a CHL or an LTC? And hopefully they do. And I will actually write a bill of sale. So I've done that, times before too. And then if they're like, no, I don't have that, then, I still will require a driver's license, and I'll write all the information down, and I'll have them sign it and date it and all that stuff. And I do the same and I keep the copy. But you know, you just got to be careful. I wouldn't just do the, hey, here's your gun, here's my money. I personally do not do that. I know people that do, but I will not do that myself. You know, because you just don't know, and I don't want any of that weird stuff. And I want to have a piece of paper with the information. And I have done this before, and the guy was like, you know, told me up front, yeah, I'll show you all that. But when we went to do it, he wouldn't. And I'm like, sorry, you know, and he's like, what? It doesn't matter. I've got the cash. And he tried to show me the money. And I was like, sorry, bud, you know, I won't do that.
Right.
It seems shady and like they've got something to hide. So I'm just not going to put myself in that situation, because you don't know what that person, you know, he could be a good guy, could be a bad guy. You don't know. And there's no reason for me to put myself in that situation.
Yeah, it's funny. Art, and Sam was curious to know why I don't do arms list. I won't specifically share those stories. It's just not relevant. Again, nothing dramatic or anything like that. Nothing weird or violent or anything. But one thing I will say, and Art's comment was kind of funny. Shot a guy in the balls for low ball offer. It's one thing I got really tired of with arms list was, you know, when you were selling something that, you know, I mean, there were occasionally firearms that I put out there that were reasonably nice firearms, and I know the value, even the aftermarket value of these firearms, and I try to gauge very fairly what the price is based upon how they sell on the aftermarket. So if it's $1,000 gun, again, just nice round number, if they generally sell around $850 or $900 person to person, generally, that's exactly where I'm going to price it. Not higher, not lower. But then people will come along and they'll say, will you take $500?
Yeah.
Or if you put in quadruple bold letters, no trades, no, that is one of the, I mean, I'm a businessman, and I'm very careful about details. And so when I put no trades in big bold letters, very close to the top, hey, will you take trades? Or they just start saying, you know, I know you said you won't take trades, but doesn't hurt to, you know, tell you what I have anyway. No, don't waste your time, because guess what? I'm not going to reply to your email. Delete, done. Yep. And so I got tired of a lot of that stuff. So that is a small portion as to why I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, no, same thing here. I don't go online and do that stuff because of the same thing. I've gotten crazy emails at like weird times in the morning or late at night, and it's like, well, you take 6 guns, and you know, I've got this, and I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, no trades. Why not? Or you know. And then some of them will even get stupid with you. And I'm like, I don't have time for this. So, you know, no reason to be an ass about anything. You know, I don't want your crap. Leave me alone. Bye-bye. But let's see here. I want to make sure if you've got some great questions, please ask them. I don't want to miss any of them.
Sorry, Dennis. Dennis is saying, I will trade my wife for a box of 9mm.
Yeah.
Well, Dennis, what does your wife look like?
Yeah.
Sorry, man. I couldn't resist.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always get some good ones here. Where is it here? There was a question. Okay. Should sights on a factory new pistol be set in the middle of the slide? I have a new pistol, and the rear and front sights are both set to the left. Should I move them back to center?
Well, ironically, if both the front and the back are lined up straight, but they're both left, you're still going to shoot straight. Yeah. You just might be a hair to the right of the target because of how science works or physics works, but it'll actually be shooting straight. If your rear side is one way and your front side is the other way, you know, that's where things start getting a little bit wonky. But I mean, my recommendation is always to start out dead set in the middle. And if you then need to make some corrections, make your corrections to the rear sight, usually with handguns. That's typically where we do that, and go from there. But again, if they're lined up, they're just both a little wonky on the same side, you're probably not going to notice much of a difference until you're shooting 25 yards and beyond.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Shoot it first. You know, it could be dead on for you. However, like, you know, what KS said, if they're both straight and lined up, you're going to shoot it straight. But that would kind of bug me, just if they're, especially if it's like way too far over, that would be weird. But, you know, you can always tap them back over to where they're perfectly centered and then try it there too. But I've seen some weird stuff when they come on guns from the factory. It's like, what the hell? And I even had a Glock, and I think I I don't remember if I brought this to Kansas, but it was one of my Glocks, but it was the, just came with the plastic sights. It wasn't the 19X. It might have been the 34. Yeah, it was the 34, the MOS 34. When I got that thing, they looked like they were straight. And so I was shooting it. I shot it like, I don't know, the first mag. And the first mag, the rear sight was just, through the first mag, it just like walked over all the way over to the left. And I was like, what the hell? But I ended up taking those off anyway. But, you're going to get some weird stuff sometimes. So
true.
Just, and one thing to do is when you get that new gun or you get a gun, even if it's used, and that's another thing that I check, I always grab the sights and just wiggle them. And, I've seen some in gun stores where you can wiggle them and they'll just start walking off when you're wiggling them. So you don't want anything like that. Oh boy, Art's asking some good questions. What's the worst disappointing handgun that you bought but won't let go?
I won't keep a disappointing handgun. So I am real focused on, I still like to play around with different things and experience different things, although I'm limiting that a lot more, especially since I'm not creating much in the way of videos, as you guys all know. But the focus for the collection, the broad portion of the collection, firearms that I love and want to keep and can envision keeping for an extremely long time or forever and passing down. So if it's disappointing to me, Dunsies right away. I already have it boxed up and ready to go. So I don't have any tolerance. See, the only thing that might still be disappointing in the collection might be maybe my number 2 polymer 80 that I built. It's pretty far out of spec, and there's not much I can do about that. But I can get a new frame and start over, so that's not that big of a deal. But I'm kind of stuck with it because you can't sell those. So yeah, I won't keep disappointing firearms.
Yeah, and I'll definitely reiterate that exact same thought. If it's disappointing, I have no reason to have it. It's just like having another paperweight, so I don't have any reason to keep them. So if it's truly disappointing, I can have some that's not that great, but that I'll still keep, or especially if it's like a nostalgia thing, but if it's totally disappointing, I won't keep it. There's no reason to, and what is a disappointing to you, if you sell it to someone else, that might be their dream gun, or that might be something that they truly enjoy. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing. Big Johnson, I know you Cerakote your guns, but have either of you done rattle can paint jobs?
I have not, but I've actually been curious about trying that just on a scrap something. Like that polymer 80 I might do just for grins, but no, I really haven't, because I know, especially when we start talking about holsters and that sort of thing, that type of paint simply can't hold up.
Yeah, especially on a pistol, it's going to wear crazy. On rifles or rifle, I have, I didn't care, so I just laid it out and sprayed it. And actually came out kind of cool. It, ends up wearing where you want it to wear, but it kind of gives it the natural battle wear finish. On rifles, I wouldn't have a problem with it. However, if you're going to spray paint a rifle, and I will say this, and I've seen people do it, and I'm like, why did you do that? A grip, something that you're going to highly use, that stuff is going to wear, and it's going to peel off, and it's going to flake off. So wrap your grip, wrap your optics, if you want to paint your optics, but at least cover the lenses. Muzzle, it doesn't matter. You can spray your muzzle device or your bird cage, but I do tape off the grip. I don't want the grip because I have seen people who have done that, and they're shooting and you grip really hard on it, and then they pull their hand off, and every bit of the paint's on their hand, and I'm like, told you to tape it off. So those are the things that I would tape. And yeah, they do come out looking pretty cool, but the thing about those also, you can go back and reapply it and still kind of keep the same pattern. And you can do patterns with like fishing nets, palm, your natural, if you've got leaves and things like that, you can use that. There's all kinds of things you can use. So whatever makes your fancy. Let's see here. That went away. Let's see here. This is the one I was looking for. Any recent issues with Sig P320 quality?
And then hit that second question after that. But no, not that I'm aware of. And I've had zero issues with any P320 I've run across.
Yeah, well, the 320 that I have and still have, the X5 original one, I still have that guide rod issue, where it'll, stay out of battery. And I can, I can slingshot it really hard and it'll stick sometimes. And I wrote, so that's why I reached out to Sig, and it was the one person that I talked to that said they can't do anything. And, I've even been given a different name by a person, MD Polo, said, hey, call this guy. But it's just to the point now where it's like, I'm just so tired of Sig on that deal. I don't even care. But, you can get good customer service, and I have in the past on my old 320. But recently, to me, and I don't know if it's because I've dogged them on a couple of videos. Maybe they watch me and hate me. I don't know. But I haven't had good luck on that particular firearm. But it's just me. So, and then where was the other one? Right here, I think. Okay.
Right. Well,
what are your thoughts on the Mossberg MC2? And, it did not get any thicker, but has achieved G19 capacity. That's from Kyla. What do you think about that?
Killa Coiler. So I did the Mossberg, the MC1, and I thought it was a decent gun. It didn't blow me away by any stretch, but I thought it was, for the money, for the features that you get. Mine had the night sights, and it's got the flat trigger and that sort of thing. I like it okay. A lot of people have brought up the notion, at least on the MC1, why have a 6-round single stack these days when you've got things like the Hellcat and the 365 and the 43X, where your capacity is significantly more with almost the same size firearm. The MC2 looks pretty interesting. I think it'd be fun to try. I'm kind of hoping that they've improved the trigger a little bit. It was pretty heavy. I mean, it was like 6.5 pounds or something like that. And personal preference, that's about 2 pounds heavier than I prefer, even on a carry gun. And again, that's all just based on preference. But otherwise, I was pretty impressed with the firearm. I mean, I thought it was a good build. So I'd like to try one, or at least see one, and kind of see what it's all about.
Yeah, the first one, the MC1, I dry fired it at a gun store and stuff, and it just didn't impress me. And of course, the way you take it down and all that stuff, I'm just like, I thought that was a little overkill. But to each their own. And the MC2 doesn't really do anything for me personally, because I think there's a lot of other guns that already saturated the market. So I think they're kind of late to the party. And the price when they came out, they were kind of a little high, but they've gone way, way down now. There's just nothing there that interests me. Even as far as the aftermarket support, I mean, I know it takes like PMags and stuff like that or whatever, but it's just, it just doesn't do anything for me. I'm not saying it's a bad gun, but I just don't see a reason personally for me to ever buy it. But if that's what you've got and you like it, hey, roll with it. So let's see.
Mr. Media is saying, if my Nighthawk doesn't get here soon, I'll be getting very emotional on some people. Right, I feel the same way. I've been waiting on an STI for almost 5 months now, and it's still not here.
Wow. Yeah, Nighthawks are good. They're nice pistols. I've played with a bunch of them and shot them before, and they are very nice pistols. But, you get what you pay for on some of those, and it just depends on what you're in the mood to buy. Let's see here. There was one that I missed. Oh, here it is right here. If you have to get a pistol refinished, what finish would you recommend? Bluing, Cerakote, nickel, and so on.
I've had pretty good luck with Cerakote. It's gonna wear in holsters. I mean, it's just paint that's baked on, basically. I'm not a big fan of nickel. I'm not a fan of nickel firearms, shiny firearms, things like that. I mean, the occasional stainless steel, fine, but that's not my jam. So bluing would be okay. I mean, that certainly stands up to the test of time. So bluing or Cerakote. If I wanted to do something a little bit wild and wacky, I'd go Cerakote.
Yeah, I've had really good luck with Cerakote. It's who applies it, how they apply it, and the technique if they do it properly and prep it properly. But I've had good luck, and I mean, I carry Cerakoted firearms all the time, and you might get a little wear here and there, or if you ding it or whatever, that's not a big deal. My favorite coating, but there's not many people that do it, is hard chrome. If you could get something hard chromed, man, that finish is literally like almost bulletproof. You just can't. You can get little fine scratches on it, but you can polish it. That is my favorite coating, but it's not cheap either. And again, the person has to do it correctly and prep it properly and all that. But I really like hard chrome. But then again, if you want the crazy colors and doing stuff like that, like I do, it's easy to get them Cerakoted.
Right. It's funny. I've had several people mention the G3. Coiler and Sam both have, and I've had some other people mention it as well. New to Pew, it's the Staccato C2. It's the double stack. Anyway, so the G3. G3 is just a bigger G2C. There's no other real, significant difference between the two. So, am I interested in the G3? I'm not. I'm sure they're good guns. My G2C has been awesome. I mean, it's got, I don't know, 1,200 rounds through it, something like that. It's been great. But I really don't have an interest in the G3 at this point in time. So.
Yeah, and that'd be the same with me. There's other pistols that are out there now in the price point. It's a good price point for it, but and I'm not knocking any of them. I know that they have came a long way from where they used to be. I had a horrible issue with Taurus way back in the day. I'm talking 10 years ago, but I haven't really. And I've dry fired their stuff, and I shot a G2, and I shot the the G1 Millennial or G111 Millennial or whatever. Yeah, whatever that one was. I've shot it before. It doesn't really do anything for me. And also the aftermarket support is definitely not there. The triggers are okay. They're not super fantastic, but there's just not a lot out there for it. So I think they're better choices to where you could really make them your own, such as Glock or whatever you want. But that's just my personal opinion. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with them if you like them. But yeah, and I even had this brought up today. What's your opinion on the Taurus TX22?
I think they're cool. They're good capacity small 22s with threaded barrels. And if you shoot cans, and I've got 222 cans, I'm all about a threaded 22. They're a lot of fun. Now I've got the G44, and although I know some people have not had good success with those, mine's got like 1,300 rounds, something like that. A lot of it is suppressed. So, I mean, it's running pretty dirty. It's been great. It's ran like a champ. One of my nephews has one as well. He's got like 2,000 rounds through his. Not a single problem. So it's not across the board. And 22s are inherently, unreliable. And so I think some of the flack on G44s might be a little bit over the top. But anyway, I'm a big fan of small 22s with threaded barrels. I really am.
Yeah, I love 22s. I think they're fun as hell. Matter of fact, I've got one that you will see, and it's pretty quickly done. I run 50 rounds through it pretty freaking fast. So, and that video will be out tomorrow. But I love 22s. I personally have never shot the Taurus TX22, but I know Uncle Dan has one. I think Honest has done it. The triggers are nice. The capacity is nice. I think it might be the highest capacity 22 pistol other than the Kel-Tec thing. But for the price, I don't really see how you could go wrong with it. And having the thread barrel option, I think that's a big plus. And it's not a tiny one, it's a little bigger. So I say get it. I've seen, I guess when they very first came out way back when, some people had a couple of issues with it, but I really haven't seen that recently at all. It looks like everybody's really liking theirs. So I think it's a good option. And hell, I might even get one eventually because I've got a 22 can that's still in jail. So, but, especially if you could find one for the right price.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a good question. KS Gun Guy Big Johnson, isn't the shield arms mag concept for the 43-48 possible with the entire Glock line? More capacity for the G19 and possibly 20 rounds.
My guess would be no. You might be able to get another round or two in the 15 or 17 round mags, what have you. I don't think you can do quite as much as you can with the 10 round. Now, keep in mind, I'm not an engineer. I'm not an expert. I could be totally wrong on that. I've been wrong before, but that would be my guess.
Yeah, and that's what I would say too, because they're stripping all the polymer, down and then expanding it and staggering it inside. So I think if they even did that, for a full size Glock 19 or 17, they might get 1 or 2 more rounds in it. So I think, and that's their bread and butter, is that 43, 48, that they're going to specialize in. So I think that's probably what they're going to do, and those are the only ones that are going to do it too. If they really went to work, here's the thing that you get into. If they're going to build a whole new mag for it, yes, they might be able to get 1 or 2 more rounds in it and keep the same flat base plate. But at the end of the day, you could just put a +2 on your extension, add an extension. Of course, it's going to be longer, but you could get 2 more rounds that way. And, some of those extensions, especially the polymer ones, are, $6, $8. So is it worth buying a $40 mag just to get 2 more rounds versus extension? And that might be the way they're looking at it also.
For sure, for sure. And they make extensions, so that might hurt another side of their business a little bit too much.
Exactly. Because they do very well. And their mag extensions for Shield Arms are awesome. I mean, I really, really do like them. I had one that had a problem on the P10F. I put it on and I was running it, and what it would do, I would shoot it, and the whole extension would just stay at the bottom. The spring was stuck down there, and I'd bang it, and then it would pop back up and stuff. But come to find out, and I was like kind of pissed, and I'm like, this is crap. But what I did is I took that extension off of that CZ tube and put it on a different one, and it worked great. So on the inside of that tube, with their mag or with their power spring or something, apparently there might have been a little snag or little, non-welded piece or something that wasn't great. So it was really the tube that was the problem. It wasn't their extension. So, and I never called them up and chewed them out. I just did some investigating myself, and that's what I found. So, let's see here. Well, we're getting, heck, it's 8 o'clock. What do you have coming up? Are you going to, start doing some more videos or anything that you want to talk about?
I don't know yet. We shall see. We shall see. But anyways, everybody, thanks for joining us and hanging out with us for an hour. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of good questions, and we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Yeah, I appreciate it so much. It's always a good time to have KS, and 17 couldn't make it tonight. He will be on next week, but yeah, it's always a big plus when, we can have a really good turnout and get some great questions. We appreciate y'all all so much. And as I always say, sub to each channel. There's a lot of great people out there, and, we're kind of all in this together. And I've got some videos coming out tomorrow. There'll be one. Hey, thanks, Guy Comment. We appreciate it very much. $5. We appreciate you. And I have one coming out tomorrow that's going to be a fun video. Kind of trying to ease everyone with this, bad stuff that's going on. It's going to be a fun video, and I think y'all will enjoy it. And we appreciate it so much. So we will see y'all next Wednesday. If you have any questions, leave them in the chat afterwards. Everyone, please hit the thumbs up. We love it. And we appreciate y'all so much. So have a great night, everyone.
See you guys.
Thanks, brother. Carry on, everyone.